Dr. Tanbo.
Loh, loh, kok nggak mau ya? Kan udah pindah.
Dyoko has this is what? Dr. Tanbo Dyoko from ceiling to floor. I was care that Saya put into it give me the strength to finish every bite.
What the hell? Ew, no.
Ever since Saya moved in, it's been like having my own wife. How old is she?
Makanya.
Saya, why are you so good to me? Oh, here we go. Okay, so there was an H scene.
Should I? Should they did the what? Should I just play this game by myself or? Of course. They
Saya,
fucking hallucination.
why are you so good to me? Oh, here we go.
No.
Okay, so there was an H scene that I had to skip there.
Bro,
I don't think there was really anything that important that you guys really needed to see there.
Okay.
We got a tidbit that Saya feels, I guess, equally as alone as Fuminori does, and sort of sees him as the only like thing in her world, which I'm not sure how you feel about this. I don't know how old this girl is, and she doesn't seem to be an adult, which is very worrying to me.
Yeah, that's fucked up.
Even if canonically she is, I feel like we're appealing to some lolly shit here. Not about that, but whatever. I guess I'll look past it. Doesn't even really feel like that scene happened. It just sort of comes out of nowhere and doesn't add much.
Yep.
Anyway, Yo is determined to talk to him today. Nothing will happen as long as she hesitates. It will only prolong her suffering.
Oh, this is
Yo's fourth period on Thursdays is biology. This is her one chance to see Fuminori.
Choker and
As a required course with many students, the lecture is held in a large hall that can seat well over 200. Excuse me. But since the room is usually only half full, it is rarely difficult for Yo to find the seat she wants. Yo prefers to sit near the center, where it is easiest to hear the professor. Most of the students congregate in this area for the same reason.
right.
Fuminori usually sits beside her, although given the ambiguous state of their relationship, she knows better than to take this for granted. Still, she tries to save a seat whenever possible.
Good.
The classroom isn't crowded today, so Yo is able to set her bag on the seat next to her without inconveniencing anyone. But when the professor arrives at the usual time to start class, there is still no sign of Fuminori. After waiting for about 10 minutes, Yo scans the room furtively. Fuminori is there, sitting alone in the far back corner. Did he miss Yo when he came in? No, he couldn't have, and besides, no serious student would willingly sit so far away from the front. Feeling miserable, Yo slides her bag back over.
What? Yo scans the room. Oh, dicariin. Mana nih? Crush gue nggak ada. Oh, kok lu malah di belakang gitu kan? Juga. Kalau di belakang sendiri.
To herself.
Dia nggak mau duduk sama gue gitu.
Fuminori is out the door the moment class ends. Yo barely manages to catch up to him before he disappears down the hallway.
Sakisaka.
Fuminori jerks at the sound of his name. You would think she just screamed at him. Now that they are face to face, Yo is painfully aware of how much weight Fuminori has lost. His sunken eyes and protruding cheekbones are a far cry from the features familiar to her. She wonders if he's under a lot of stress or perhaps not getting enough nutrition. Maybe it's both. He definitely looks more tense than he should, afraid even, though of what she can't imagine. His eyes move restlessly from point to point, and he refuses to look Yo in the eye.
Halusinasi.
It hurts to see Fuminori this way. What could have changed him so? Today, she reminds herself, rekindling the flame of courage in her heart.
Cold. It seems bright for me. Yeah,
Don't you remember? Yo almost blurts out the question, but manages to keep her composure. I do appreciate the amount of CGs we've been getting so far. He smiles like it's nothing, even though it seems forced. He's even standing precisely one pace farther away from her than he used to. Yo managed to keep from flinching at the harshness of his tone. Rather than answer, Fuminori grinds his toe into the dead grass at his feet. Fearing that her determination might flag, Yo lets the words come as they may. Yo can no longer stop the words pouring from her lips. She fears that if she does not unleash her feelings now, they will be lost forever.
No, you don't understand, bro.
Higurashi moment. We're having a Higurashi moment right here.
Higurashi is it?
The look in his eyes is not anger or any other warm-blooded emotion. It is hate. Murderously cold hate. He remembers, and still he has to treat her so coldly. That is all the answer she needs. His words stab any deeper, she might very well die. Don't cry, Yo tells herself, but too late to stop the tears pouring from her eyes. We do go the same school. Good grammars.
Ching.
君さ、少しは頭を冷やした方が良かったんだよ。どうせ大宮浩二にけしかけられてその気になってただけなんだろ。自分一人でのぼせてる分には勝手だけどさ。 他人を巻き込むなって言うんだ。
Oh fuck.
That's all Yo can take.
Ya lu
Even after
pedo
shedding tears in
anjing.
front of him, she absolutely refuses to let him hear her cry. Any disgrace would be preferable to breaking down here.
Parah
So
tuh.
she runs, fleeing breathlessly from the courtyard with Fuminori's cold smile at her back.
Meskipun monster ya, dia juga punya hati anjing. Ya nggak gitu juga monster.
Omi was the first to catch sight of Yo and Fuminori leaving for the courtyard. Reluctant to interrupt him, but still unwilling to leave them alone, she and Koji ended up watching the whole thing from the shadows.
あいつ
Throughout the exchange, Omi was clearly itching to jump out and punch Fuminori in the face. Knowing her temper, Koji kept firm hold of her arm until the end. If he hadn't, she might very well have done it. Fuminori leaves after Yo, his every step seeming to take an act of willpower. Koji sighs heavily into the once more empty courtyard, but the bitter taste in his mouth will not go away.
どうしちまったんだかな、あいつは。
Even Koji cannot forgive Fuminori's treatment of Yo. However, the first thing that he feels is confusion, not anger. I like how his sprite is really trying his best to fit vertically onto the screen. Koji has known Fuminori since long before college. Fuminori was never this cruel before. There was no question now that the accident changed him.
ねえコージこのまま
放っておきたくないにしたって。
覗き見よりマシなことよ。私咲坂君に一言言ってやらなきゃ気が。
それで筑波の気が晴れるってもんでもない。
だったら私のキーだけでも晴らすわよ。
Anjing. Egois
Yo
lu.
and Omi are best friends just like Koji and Fuminori. In fact, it was the relationship between Koji and Omi that brought the other two together. Omi's anger is only natural.
私咲坂君と二人だけで話してみたいわ。コージはつい
本気かよ。
その代わり
Beneran.
ヨウのことを見ていた泣き終わった後で誰か
なあ、それって俺とお前の。
私みたいな性格だとね慰め役は無理励ます。
なるほど。
Ya udahlah, naruh
じゃあまあ、そっちはほどほどにしとけよな。
Aduh, jangan.
Ending the conversation before Omi's mood gets any worse,
Jangan
Koji heads off to
diprovokasi.
find Yo.
Lu tuh kayak monster ya. Nanti lu dibantai anjing.
Here we are, back in Half-Life. I've never even played that, by the way. I feel awful,
the fuck up,
miserable,
bro.
but also refreshed.
Shut the fuck
I
up,
finally
sudah
crossed the
Half-Life.
line. I knew it would come crashing down like this sooner or later. Having become unable to feel anything but disgust for other people, there was no way I could hope to maintain the relationships I'd had before the accident. Today's incident will definitely get back to Koji and Omi, and everyone will be convinced I've had a major change of character. Honestly, I don't care anymore. At least I probably won't be committed for this. I just need to avoid acting any stranger than I already have. If this puts a rift between me and the others, good. The thought of all the stress I'll avoid brings a smile to my lips. I'm fed up with them sticking their noses into my life. It's like they don't care that they make my gut turn just by being near me. I've been terrified of them until now, but today I struck fear into one of them. In that sense, it's something of a relief, but I'm not entirely without remorse for what happened. The person I just demolished with the verbal equivalent of a nuclear bomb used to be my friend Yo. Even if my senses don't believe it, my mind accepts the theory. I don't have any particular grudge against Yo herself, I just don't want to, and I didn't want to hurt her. In retrospect, perhaps I should have just ignored her outright. Yo was an attractive girl. I certainly didn't think badly of her. To be honest, though, I was annoyed when Koji and Omi tried to stick us together. It felt like they were using us as entertainment, and Yo seemed totally oblivious to the fact that she was dancing to their tune. Her cluelessness was irritating.
Maksa juga dijodohin anjir kayak gitu juga lah. Tapi ya.
Hello, sorry about that break. Still, I knew that none of them meant any harm. Back then, I didn't have any reason to hurt others, just to get my way. If having a casual relationship with Yo would keep our circle of friends together, I was willing to make that compromise.
I wanna tell something. Sorry, gimana sih? Kok kayak mic monitor. Hello. Oh. Biasa aja. Ya, audio gitu. Ya, aman sih. Ya udahlah. Oke, aman. Kembali nonton.
Now, however, there is no room in my heart for such
katanya, anjir.
forbearance. If merely talking to someone is an ordeal, then how can I be expected to show them kindness? These ruminations have left me exhausted. I want to return to Saya as soon as possible, but thinking about the packed trains and crowded downtown streets between here and home saps my spirit. Catching sight of a nearby bench, I sit down and close my eyes to the horrors of the world. I can't do anything about the stink or the noise, but at least I can calm my nerves enough to rest. When I regained consciousness in the T University Hospital ward, the world was as dark as it is now. I had not yet recovered my sight, even though my eyes and optical nerves were undamaged. It must have been an after effect of the accident. Blindness was a shock, but now I know that my suffering then was nothing. After all, my senses of hearing, touch, taste, and smell were all fine at the time. The real horror began when my sight returned. The one small mercy was that I was able to come to terms with the accident and my neurosurgery while still blind. I panicked when I first saw the nightmarish hospital and the blood-curdling shapes of the doctors and nurses, but I soon guessed the cause. It chills me to think of what might have happened if I had recovered my sight along with my consciousness. Suddenly awakening in what can only be described as hell, I would no doubt have lost my mind instantly. Soon my disorder spread to the senses of touch, taste, and smell. As it turns out, sight exerts tremendous influence over the other four. That's actually true, and it's not just with sight either. A lot of senses do have an effect on other senses. For example, smell and taste are like intrinsically linked. If you can't smell, for example, your ability to taste will be greatly hampered. It's not as separated as we like to think. The taste of my food, the feel of my blood sheets, the fragrance of my get well flowers all became unbearably foul as my eyes said they should be. Eventually, when even the doctors' voices became unrecognizable as human, I decided to kill myself. I didn't believe for a second that I could live in this new world. At least, not until I met Saya. One night, while thinking of a painless way to die, I found myself succumbing to sleep. Drifting between the nightmares in my dreams and the nightmare of reality, I didn't notice her enter my room. The next thing I knew, there was a face staring down at me from next to my bed. The face was not covered in pus or slime or earth-like feelers. It had smooth white cheeks, round eyes, a lovely little nose, all things I had never expected to see again. The face was that of a girl, undeniably human and positively glowing with beauty. I sighed in admiration, savoring the first peace and joy since regaining my sight. She had not expected such a reaction, apparently. Looking at the clock, I saw it was exactly 3 in the morning, no time for a young girl to be alone in the hospital. Perhaps she expected me to mistake her for a ghost. But I would not have cared if she had been a ghost. Either way, she was a godsend. I assumed that she was the daughter of a late shift doctor or another patient. It was unusual, but not unthinkable for such a girl to be wandering around the
あ
hospital.
んた怖がらないんじゃつまらない。
あ、ちょっと。
何？
女の子にお願いしていいことじゃないんだが、今は君にしか頼めない。
No longer concerned with propriety, I let the words come as they willed.
握らせてもらえないだろうか。
変な人。そんなこと言い出したのあなたが初めて。
Ever so carefully, as though catching snowflakes, I placed my palm up against hers. I could feel her human warmth and the softness of her delicate fingers. She was there, just beyond the palm of my hand. Thinking back on the joyful tears I shed then, I know that this is the moment I was saved from my fate.
この半月の間に初めて人に触れた。人だと感じられる体に。
はあ？
他の人じゃダメなんだ。僕事故に遭って、その後遺症らしいんだけど、人が人の姿に。
本当に不思議な人。あなたって面白い。
Ah,
明日の夜もまた来ていい？
jangan-jangan dia aslinya berbentuk monster.
いいのかい？
大丈夫よ。夜は私のものだから。
What?
So our rendezvous began.
Watashi no
Saya
mono
keep-
dakara, what?
いいのか
What
い？
is it?
大丈夫よ。
The night belongs to you,
夜
oke?
は私の
Jadi
もの。
mungkin sama dokter atau bapaknya itu ya, si bapaknya
So
itu
our rendezvous
sengaja
began. Saya came to my room every night at 3 a.m.
Si lakoni
skillfully taking
Funimori ini.
advantage of the duty nurse's shift change.
di,
I was astonished to learn
di
that she was
alter
living inside the hospital.
neurologinya supaya lihat
これだけ広いと隠れる場所には事欠かないから。
She had been living in the suburbs with her father, she told me, until one day he'd suddenly stopped
biar
coming
bisa
home. After
kelihatan
she get
seperti
tired of waiting,
manusia.
Saya had decided one night to
seperti-
sneak into the hospital where he'd work. And there she lived over 2 months, searching for his
Manusia yang
whereabouts all the
atraktif
while.
ini.
は行かなくていいのかい？
Tertib menurut
いいの。勉強は
orang yang
全部
mengidap
パパに教え
penyakitnya
てもらったから。さやはとっても頭。
supaya ada yang
勉強は
ingin
全部パパに教えてもらったから。
menjadi kekasih anaknya gitu
さ
kan.
や、いいの。
Wah,
勉強は全部パパに教えてもらったから。
oh
さやはとっても頭がいいんだよ。
She was a strange girl. On one hand, she looked and acted like a child. On the other, she was remarkably self-reliant and, at times, exhibited a sharp intelligence and deep knowledge that many may have found unsettling.
itu manusia beneran enggak? Bingung gua.
This is someone's fantasy.
Iya
I
kan?
didn't care. Saya was the only other human in the world in a world gone mad. Her existence meant far more to me than the standards of society.
Oh iya
なく
dia.
ないのか？見つかりそうになったことは？
全然平気。ここにいれば食べるものにも不自由しないし、入院してる患者さんたちも
Why
い
you
れば
skip so
食べるも
fast?
のに
It's a lot more fun than staying at my dad's house by
も不
myself.
自由しないし、入院してる
I'll
患
do
者
the
さんたち
patient
のう
listen.
ち、ちょっと精神的に参ってそうな人を事前にチェックしといてね。
Anjing,
Excuse me?
iseng banget.
真夜中に
Iya kan, iseng banget.
お出かしたりする。
Sengaja banget dari orang dengan mental issue mau
そう
diapain,
いう
Jay?
患者さんの言うことは
Sometimes I sneak into their rooms late. Hah, parah cok, iseng banget anjing, parah.
あ
What
み
the?
んな真に受けたりしないから。
It's a little bit fucked up, actually.
Iya kan,
うん、
iseng banget sih.
片付けられちゃうし。
It's actually pretty damn fucked up.
Iya,
Her confession
bukan.
reminded me that the hospital was famous for its ghost stories. Who could have imagined that there was actually a real girl ambitiously roaming these hallways?
僕も最初はそのつもりで。
うん。ごめんね。怒った？
Anjing semak.
While her pranks were
Nakal
hardly
banget.
praiseworthy, I couldn't bring myself to scold her for the very thing that had brought us together.
Apa
By the
emang
way,
dimarahin?
I almost cut off this line right here. Yeah, sorry, are you mad? Because, I mean, but I didn't, because I was wondering if she was like insulting his mental health based on what we had heard before, or whether she meant angry. So I was listening to the line, and she did. It was angry, is what she was.
Yes,
She was like, "Are you angry?" Okay.
おー
その代わり夜は僕の話し相手になってくれないか。
さやもその方が楽しい。
Oh no, we fucking
So you kind of
Japanese
just
bro.
abducted a child? With extreme care, I was able to conceal my sensory disorder. It was glaringly obvious that the doctors had no way to cure me, and the fact that I had undergone a still experimental procedure made me even more cautious. As a medical student, it was easy for me to imagine how the doctors would react if they discovered I was exhibiting such unusual side effects. I was not about to become a guinea pig, a mere specimen to be examined with clinical detachment.
Oh, berarti dia
You know there are laws against that, dude.
menyembunyikan juga ya.
I don't know about Japan.
Gimana
or-
antara nih emang sengaja salah sendiri kayak aduh pokoknya gue harus selamatin dari pokoknya gue harus menang lah, gue nggak boleh ketahuan punya kelainan ini soalnya gue nggak mau dijadikan bahan percobaan, tapi biar gak ketahuan tuh gimana caranya, tapi gue sadar kalau gue ini bermasalah gitu kan, kayak anjing.
Whenever this story takes place, so
Tapi lu
maybe I'm wrong
main
about that.
sama
But...
bocil
And
anjing.
so I
Lu
hid
mainnya-
my discomfort and loathing behind a mask of normalcy, convincing the doctors that any signs of stress were merely a result of hospitalization. Saya was my support. Looking forward to her nightly visits gave me the strength to endure my daily torture. Hope can make an enormous difference in a patient's progress. With the aid of my secret nurse, I recovered at a pace that left the doctors stunned.
Emotional support
On the
penting
last night
ya.
before my release, I summoned the courage and asked her,
これからもずっとこの病院に居続けるのか。
Emotional support.
結局パパの手がかりはなかったけど、もう他にいるところもないし、バレそうになるまではいいかな。
よかったら僕の家に来
Did he
ないか。
not already ask that? Did I miss it?
Nope, she didn't. Ya, jadi lu bawa bocil ke rumah, and then what?
Was it this?
What the hell, bro? What the hell, bro?
Okay. I'm sorry, I'm tired.
Sexually fucked
But
up.
I was still right. He did basically just abduct a child.
家族はもういないから部屋はいくらでも余ってる。人目を忍ぶような必要もないし、住み心地もそんなに。
ふみのりと一緒に。
君の父さんのことは代わりに僕が探してあげる。約束するよ。
難しいと思う。多分パパ、何か悪いことをして、この病院を辞めたんだと思う。
Ya ini karena dia nempelin, dia mengalter nih, gagal ini, operasi yang gagal.
頑張るよ。どんなことだ。さやと離れたくないんだ。
Oh, cok di skip
頑張るよ。
Unable to control myself, I fell asleep the
ど
door.
んなことだ。さやと
Gak bisa tanpa lu.
少しだけ考えさせて。
Sopan banget ya, tapi nggak sopan juga ada sih, rada gila.
On the day of my release, I managed to smile as I accepted the hideous, foul-smelling celebratory bouquet. The flesh beasts calling themselves Goji, Omi, and Yo came to pick me up. Though they had come to see me many times during my stay, it never got easier to see my friends changed so horribly. My sudden tears of despair drew suspicion, but I managed to explain them away as tears of joy. While we walked to Koji's car, I looked desperately for Saya amid the grotesque scenery. Even as we drove away, I could keep...
Lu tahu lu bermasalah, lu tahu ada yang salah dengan lu, dan lu tahu itu bukan hal nyata, itu halusinasi. Tapi udah gitu lu ngerugikan orang lain karena lu nggak mau ngasih tahu, kalau lu nggak mau ngasih tahu gitu, lu rugikan orang lain, teman-teman lu jadi kena batunya juga, temen lu jadi sedih. Tapi mereka mencoba maklumin gitu, lu bangsat, tau nggak?
I kept watching the hospital fade into the distance. praying for a last glimmer of hope. But Saya never appeared. After Koji and the others dropped me off, I paused a while to regard my surroundings. I had lived my entire life on this block, in this house. There was no other place I could call home. But nothing was as I remembered. As I walked up the path to the front door, I took in the yard where I had spent my childhood. I could feel those memories being defiled by the twisted, festering shapes around me. Inside the house, I found nothing familiar, nothing to offer me comfort and warmth. What I had once called home was now a whole other world. There's one less stop to make, one less nail and the hammer into my coffin. I stepped into the room that had cradled me from childhood. The walls were prepared with human entrails. The bed, a tangled mass of worm flesh. But none of that mattered. There, curled up on the bed like an abandoned cat, was Saya. As I stood there in shock, she looked up at me and in a tiny, weak voice said, I responded by sweeping her into my arms, embracing her tightly so that she would not escape.
Jadi
Saya did not resist.
Halusinasi apa asli? Jangan-jangan mereka
When she arrives at the Sakisaka house, Omi first takes a deep breath to calm herself. Her anger does not vanish entirely, of course, but at least now she can hear herself think. While waiting for a response from the intercom, she looks over the patch of yard that she can see from outside the gate. Even Omi isn't normally one to complain about other people's housekeeping, but this is going too far.
Oi.
The grass is growing wild, and there are piles of dead leaves scattered everywhere. It doesn't just look untended, it looks like an uninhabited ruin. It's still light out, but every window has its storm shutters tightly sealed. Omi guesses they've been closed since morning. What kind of life is Fuminori leading? Even if he's alone, he can't neglect his housework forever. And is it just her imagination, or does something stink like rotten meat? Couldn't be coming from the yard, could it? There's still no response, so she presses the buzzer a second time, a third and a fourth. Finally, after this had gone for over 10 minutes, Omi loses her patience and opens the cover of the intercom. So what was that about? Rotten meat.
Loh, iya kan, gue juga bilang gitu.
It's interesting. Is maybe Saya doing something to take advantage of Fuminori's condition. Like, I imagine if she just hypothetically was killing people and storing their bodies or like body parts in the house, he wouldn't be able to recognize it from the rest of the world. So, and by doing that, she basically has a haven for these crimes. That's just an idea anyway. As she suspected, the power has been disconnected. Perhaps Fuminori has a good reason for shutting out the world, but Omi can only see it as a lack of respect for others. Her anger rekindled. She pushes the gate open and stops through the yard to the front door. Given the state of his intercom, she doubts that Fuminori will respond to a knock, so Omi decides to just open the door and go in shouting. And if the door is locked, she'll just have to. Surprisingly, the doorknob turns easily in her hand, and the enraged Omi finds herself throwing the door open wider than she intended. Her nostrils are instantly assaulted by a choking stench. Omi can't believe her ears. The voice she just heard could not have been human, and its intonations were too complex for any animal she can't imagine.
Itu sayanya.
Okay.
He's been fucking a monster.
Saya is actually a flesh beast, and in that case, if somehow that means Fuminori just sees her as a normal human, is that what Okay. She hears the sound of something soft and wet flapping its way deeper into the house. Finding it difficult to find a meaningful image to the voice she just heard, Omi stares blankly at the empty vestibule. There's nothing there, not even Fuminori's shoes, which can only mean that he's still outside somewhere wearing them. The house should be empty. But what was that voice just now? Her anger has vanished as if it was never there. Nonetheless, Omi sets foot into the hallway, leaving the door open so the cowbell won't ring. The floor creaks, setting her nerves on edge. Omi isn't sure why she's acting like a burglar, but something tells her to make as little noise as possible. The potency of the stink inside the house makes the whiff she caught outside pale in comparison. It's sickening, like rotten fish guts. Has food been left to spoil in the kitchen? She hears a bubbling sound ahead. Stepping gingerly on the creaking floorboards, Omi makes her way to the end of the hallway. She finds rooms
Jadi
on
karena
both sides of
makanannya
the
nggak
room.
enak itu,
One lit,
dia
the other
makan
dark, and chooses to look into the lit room.
makan buatan saya itu, dia tuh flash beast.
It's the kitchen, lit by what must be the only window in the house not covered by a storm shutter. Apologies. It's the kitchen, lit by what must be the only window in the house not covered by a storm shutter. The sound she heard was the pot boiling on the stove, and on the chopping board next to it lay a butcher's knife and some half-diced carrots. A perfectly normal household scene, with the light of the setting sun making everything the color of decomposing fruit.
Terus yang
Excuse me.
cat
Something is
rumahnya gue
wrong.
kira dicatin.
Who's cooking here, and where did they go?
いないんですか？
Udah lu kabur aja, kabur.
Suddenly, she
cabut.
feels cold seeping through her pantyhose.
Oh shit, okay, shut the fuck. What? Okay. Japanese writing, bro.
Fingertips come away covered with a viscous olive green slime, like the filthy water from a tank, long clogged with algae and dead fish. The whole floor is covered with it. It must be the source of the stench. Omi now wishes that she had worn her shoes inside. Manners be damned.
Berarti
When
yang
she
gue
looks
bilang tadi
back
bener
ruefully
ya.
the way she came, she realizes that her current position is not visible from the
Ya kan?
entrance.
Dia
This
flash beast-nya,
kitchen must
dia
be where that strange voice
bapak ini
came
gara-gara
from.
bapaknya nih.
The next room is probably the den. As she expected from the closed storm shutters, it's pitch black inside. Omi wants nothing more than to flee this house, but that would mean turning her back to the darkness, and that she simply cannot bring herself to do. Moved by some irrational
No,
compulsion,
it's green,
Omi sets
bro.
foot into the den.
It's green.
It's too dark to see anything, and the stink is
Wait,
far worse
is
than
it even
before.
paint?
She slides her hand along the wall, feeling for the light switch. Finding it much sooner than she expected, she flips it on like it's her last hope. The colors, so many colors. The purple of entrails, for the brown of rotten meat, the crimson of fresh blood, the yellow of rat. These colors, and more that cannot be described, covered every inch of the room in a
Kan
maddening
kayak
array.
reverse
The
di
colors
reverse
say all that needs to
psychology
be
gitu,
said
nggak
about the
kayak gitu,
painter's
bukan
hatred,
reverse psychology
malice,
juga
and
sih, kayak
insanity.
sengaja
Umi's legs give out from the shock, sending her to the floor. Slime immediately soaks through her jeans, its cold tendrils creeping up her legs, crotch,
I
and
know.
her neck. Her
Alright,
hand flies to
bro.
her neck, where it is greeted by another drop of chilly
Emang
slime.
bapaknya ini ya,
Above her, something
sengaja.
is dripping onto her head. Making perhaps the worst decision of her life, Umi looks up.
Oh,
The
shit.
predator clinging to the ceiling, poised to leap upon its prey.
No,
She
don't
sees it
eat
in
her.
every detail. Her mouth and nose are sealed forever before she can scream, and her belly is torn open as something enters to feast on her innards. But by the time she feels any of this, Omi has already gone mad. I bit the bullet and tried to take the train, but the rush hour crowds were so
What do you
bad
mean,
that I had to get off halfway and
Funimori?
walk. I'm running pretty late. Is Saya worried? I hope she's not mad.
No. So
When I enter the yard, I realize the front
Oh,
door
itulah
has been left
kenapa
wide
ditanya,
open.
are you scared?
Light
Tuh,
from the living
kamu gak
room is
takut?
seeping out into the hallway.
Takut,
I hear what
rasa
sounds like
takut.
someone smacking their lips. There's also a tantalizing fragrance in the air.
Soalnya aslinya dia tuh
Is it Saya?
monster.
I consider calling out to her, but
So, kenapa dia
decide to
suka? Soalnya dia
enter
bisa
in
dilihat,
silence
bisa
instead.
ngeliat dia sebagai sesuatu yang atraktif. Karena
Something smells strange, though not unpleasant.
reverse,
The aroma
di reverse
is quite
ya
soothing, in fact. It
neurologinya.
reminds me of Saya's hair.
Se-
At first, I am surprised by what I see in the living room. The floor is covered with what looks to be some kind of grass, probably the source of a herb-like smell. And there are fruit or vegetable-like balls of varying size scattered everywhere.
Saya.
Saya turns around, her eyes wide with surprise. She then looks away
You
sheepishly,
ate
like a child
Omi!
caught at some
何
prank.
を食べてるんだい？
これはその
Remembering that she's never eaten in front of me before, I realize that she must be quite embarrassed.
Oh, dia harus makan
一
manusia.
ついいかな？
Scoop up the closest fruit thing and pop it into my mouth, ignoring Saya's attempt to wave me off. It has a strange texture, soft and pliable like peach or a pear. When I bite into it with my back teeth, a succulent juice fills my mouth, combined with a sharp, strong fragrance. It's unlike anything I've ever
Oh, you're the
tasted.
homie girl, bro.
料理してあるのかこれ？
That's your homie girl.
とはさばいてからちょっと溶かして食べやすくしただけでほとんど生
That's your homie girl, bro. What the fuck?
I pick up a different lump, this one consisting of fruity flesh around a hard core. Taking a chunk off in my mouth, I find it has a similar taste to the last one.
ねえ大丈夫？
Yeah, even I can eat this. In fact, it's good.
That's a what? A what?
At first, Saya looks dumbstruck, but then she bursts out laughing.
そうなんだ。ふみのりもこういうのが好きだったんだ。
さやっていつ
Oh,
も
dia
こういう
mikir kayak
も
a
のを
what?
食べてたのか。
こんな大物は久しぶりだけどね。うん。近所の公園とかで。
There's an impressive nature preserve not too far from here. I've never heard about fruits like these growing there, but, well, of course,
It,
they only look like
Maksudnya
fruits to
dia-
me. They're really something else.
ini ada miskomunikasi nih
一
anjing.
番美味しいところはさっきさやが全部食べちゃった。
Itu miskom
いいよ
anjing.
また今度で。でもこれで明日から一緒に食事ができるね。
Saya seems really happy. I'm happy too, of course. Eating with someone is much more fun than eating alone, and it makes the food taste better too.
まだまだいっぱいあるし、食べきれない分は冷やせば2、3日は大丈夫だよ。ちょっと味は落ちるんだけどね。
じゃあ早めに片付けておこうか。
Seeing the small fruits in Tupperware and large ones in
Fruits.
pots and bowls,
Tupperware is
Saya
a
and I store the remaining
For-
food in the refrigerator. Thinking of tomorrow's dinner fills me with anticipation. I feel that little by little I'm starting to regain the joy of living. Saya will guide me. With her, I can live on. Yeah, sounds cool, bro.
Oke, true
What?
stories.
True Scary Stories Hospital Edition? I'll have to get to this later. I am actually going to stop the recording session now. Shouldn't be much of a hiccup for you because I imagine I am putting all of these together into one long super video. So,
Okay.
hello,
Super
you
scary.
and I wouldn't want to delay you from the story any longer.
Okay.
Stories, Hospital Edition. Chapter 4, The Monster in the Hospital.
Ini saya.
Oh.
Bukan saya, maksudnya ini saya.
A medical student relates his shocking experiences. Will you believe him or not? Strange things started happening at the hospital around the end of last spring. It began with patients waking up in the middle of the night screaming. They all spoke of terrifying nightmares.
Oh, itulah
and many
kenapa
of
dia
them had to be
pinter,
sedated.
kenapa dia
Some patients even
pinter. Karena dia itu huntingnya tuh yang punya mental issue. Nah, kalau punya mental issue nggak, dia bilang sendiri tadi nggak ada yang bakal percaya kan. Parah banget tadi. Emang monster, ada monster
Transferred to other
beneran berarti.
hospitals because of it. By the way, I don't know if I mentioned it, but I've turned down my audio, turned up the game audio because I realized the disparity between those two things was a little bit great. The last time I recorded, and also I am washing clothes in the background, and I hope you can't hear that. But if you can, I'm sorry. There's a very limited time window I have to record today.
Okay.
The weird thing was that they'd all had exactly the same dream. A dream about a horribly disgusting monster staring at them from their bedside.
What? That's your
But the really strange stuff started
monster
happening after
fucker.
that.
Let's go.
There used to be a lot of stray cats around campus looking for scraps from the students. I'm sorry, this game is very loud for me right now, so I'm gonna turn that down.
Those and the dates stop coming.
I hope that didn't affect the volume on your guys' end. But one day the cats suddenly disappeared, and it wasn't that they'd stopped coming, it was more like they'd vanished from the area entirely. And then people stopped walking their dogs around. According to the rumors, the dogs were refusing to go anywhere near this school. I've had that before, where I'm walking my dog, and I'm trying to go somewhere, and she just stops. Like, she'll just sit on her butt and won't move. And it's like hard to understand why exactly, because every time she's done that, there hasn't been a noticeable reason, like a reason that I could deduce. But I don't know, maybe they know more than we do.
What? Are you reading or what?
Eventually, things started going missing at the hospital. Organs, to be precise. Okay. Transplant organs kept disappearing from the storage. People came close to losing their jobs over it. And it wasn't just 2 or 3 times that it happened. They tried to keep it from the students, but we'd heard it was a lot worse than that. People started saying that there was something living in the hospital. The janitors would find strange messes that could only have been made in the middle of the night. Traces of something that had crawled down the hallway, or weird stains caused by something dripping through the ceiling.
The night belongs
The
to
late shift
her.
nurses talked about hearing strange noises on the same nights that patients awoke screaming.
Oh,
There's one
okay.
last story, one that you never mention inside the hospital. One day, the obstetrics department went crazy. They said that a newborn had disappeared in the night. If that were true, the police would have come, and it would have been all over the news. But they say the big shots managed to make it all go away.
God.
Just a rumor, of course.
Dia ngambil organ,
This looks like
ngambil
Phi from Zero Escape, doesn't it? These strange incidents suddenly stopped toward the end of
I don't
summer.
know, bro. I don't know what that is.
Now there are almost no patients complaining of nightmares, and the cats have started coming back to campus. Still, what happened at the hospital in the summer, even now just thinking about it gives me the creeps. So obviously it's supposed to be Saya terrorizing the mental patients.
Back at the cafe.
ダメだ。
It's the 3rd day in a row they haven't been able to get in touch with Omi.
Is that Space? Oh, that's Yo.
Yeah, you might have a little bit of trouble with that. There's no sign she returned to her apartment, and even her family doesn't know anything. Her parents have already filed the missing persons report.
まあ、あいつのことだからな。何事もなかったみたいに、ひょっこり顔出しそうな気も
Tuh,
する。
jadi kayak mana ya?
だといいけど。
Yo hasn't seen Fuminori since then, and Fuminori hasn't made any effort to approach her or Koji. 4 people used to meet in this cafeteria between classes, but now there were only 2.
ねえ、殿くん、もう一度考えてみようよ。どこか。
いや、一通りは確かめたしな。
It's a lie, of course. Koji knows where Koji knows where Omi planned to go that evening, but he doesn't want to bring Fuminori up in front of Yo.
Oh shit.
Plan to go. I don't know if I said plans. Their awkward silence is mercifully broken by the bell signaling the start of the next period.
じゃあ、俺行くわ。
Unless Koji is mistaken, Yo is supposed to have class next period too. But she just sits there staring off into space.
Kasian aja.
I keep pressing space. Unable to come up with anything, he leaves the cafeteria reluctantly. Both Omi's disappearance and Yo's depression worry Koji, and both problems lead back to the same place.
海のりは一体
When Omi went missing, the first thing he did was question Fuminori. After all, the last time he'd seen her was just before she stormed off to give Fuminori a piece of her mind. Fuminori responded with unequivocal denial and acted like he hadn't the slightest idea of why Omi would have gone to see him. Perhaps that was only natural, as he was unaware that Omi and Koji had witnessed him reduce Yo to tears. Did Omi even make it to Fuminori's house? She had been riding a wave of emotion when she left, and might have calmed down and changed her mind halfway there. Perhaps she ran into trouble along the way? Koji concluded, or more accurately convinced himself, that one of these possibilities was the truth, subconsciously denying the other remaining possibility. That Fuminori was lying, that he hadn't met Omi and was involved with her disappearance.
Oh.
Okay. So he doesn't want to believe that Fuminori is involved with the disappearance. When questioned by the police, Koji told the truth about Omi's destination only up to the train station, maintaining that he had no idea where she'd planned to go after that. He wanted to cooperate with the search, of course, but Omi couldn't have made it to Fuminori's house. Fuminori said himself, didn't he? In that case, he told the police everything they needed to know. Not wanting to get the still fragile Fuminori involved, he forced himself to accept this flimsy logic. But the conflict has built up inside of him without his notice, leaving unanswered suspicion to fester in his mind. Koji is deep in thought, paying no attention to his surroundings, but perhaps that is what allows him to catch sight of his friends back through the crowd of milling students.
海のり
At first, Koji assumes he's headed to the lecture hall, but it soon appears that he is instead going home. Strange, medical students have required courses in the afternoon. Though he's initially surprised, Koji's hesitation lasts only a second. He follows his friend, taking care to stay far enough behind that he won't be noticed.
Yeah. Kata gue sih, aduh.
Fuminori wasn't going home, as became
Koji is a
obvious when he
good
boarded
friend,
a
bro.
train heading in the opposite direction.
Fuck. I
Koji's
mean,
next
he's a
guess was
good
that he was
human
going to see
being
his
and
doctor
also-
at the T University Hospital, but Fuminori rode straight through the closest station. The stranger it gets, the closer Koji feels to discovering the truth behind Fuminori's sudden transformation. Any knowledge would be welcome, no matter how slight. Even Koji is beginning to think that there must be more behind Fuminori's change than the accident alone. He wants a more satisfying answer, one that will help him decide whether Fuminori can be trusted. Fuminori gets off at a small station in a nondescript suburb of Tokyo. Koji follows, trying not to lose sight of him amid the other disembarking passengers. The area is quite desolate, with only a small bookstore, a convenience store, and a market in front of the train station. It is easy for Koji to keep Fuminori in view. This neighborhood was carved out of Fuji foothills, and here and there remain steep inclines and wooded areas that escape assimilation. Koji is amazed that such a quiet place exists less than an hour out of central Tokyo. Fuminori seems to know these streets. He moves quickly and purposefully through the suburban community, his eyes fixed straight ahead. Before long, Fuminori reaches a house. Without ringing the bell or even knocking, he opens the door and vanishes inside, leaving Koji to wonder how Fuminori can treat the house as his own. After waiting to see if Fuminori comes back out, Koji approaches the gate and checks the nameplate. Ogai, it reads. Koji has never heard of anyone by that name among Fuminori's acquaintances. Next, his attention is drawn to the thick wad of leaflets sticking out of the mail slot. This, coupled with the general dilapidated feel of the place, suggests that it has been abandoned for some time.
Ogai, huh?
A small playground about 2
Lagi
blocks
nyari
away
Bapak
provides an
Ogai.
adequate vantage point from which to watch the front of the Ogai home. Fortunately, it does not appear to be the sort of house that has a rear exit. Koji settles down on a bench and begins to stake out. I should have brought more smokes. 1 hour passes, and then another, but no sign of movement around the Ogai residence. Soon twilight settles upon the neighborhood. He kills time by redialing Omi on his cell and sending her short text messages, but his efforts are futile, as he knew they would be. When the sky begins to turn a deep blue and the sunlights come on, streetlights come on. Sunlights. I'm sorry. Fuminori finally emerges from this house and heads back toward the station with the same hurried stride. After some brief consideration, Koji decides that right now investigating the house is more important than tailing Fuminori.
Okay.
He rings the doorbell just to make sure. After receiving the expected silence in response, he checks to make sure no one is watching and turns the doorknob. The door is not locked. The moment he enters the house, stale air thick with mold and dust
Mold.
fills Koji's nostrils.
Pipkin Pippa?
There is a faint hint of something else in the air, something reminiscent of damp sewers and fetid cisterns.
Did she live? Oh, sorry, but not.
Flipping the light switch does
Joking,
nothing.
I'm joking.
The power must be cut off.
Chop.
Koji uses a cigarette lighter to illuminate the immediate area. In the thick dust covering the floor, he notices several brand new trails of footprints that could have only been made by shoes. Koji decides to follow suit and dispense with courtesy. He enters with his shoes on. Hey, you're already one step ahead of the other girl.
Light flickering flame push back
Pardon me?
the deathly.
The lighter's flickering flame pushes back the deathly silence and gloom of the house. Koji is surprised to see evidence of life remaining. Everything from furniture to tableware and appliances, nothing seems to be missing. The thickness of the dust suggests that the house has been empty for several months, which means that the owner must have left with little more than clothes on his back. Could he have gone on a long vacation? The calendar in the den is still turned to April. Empty and silent, yet still exhibiting signs of life that once lived there, the house reminds Koji of a passenger ship entombed at the bottom of the sea. In the graveyard-like quiet, a sinister thought suddenly enters his mind.
Huh?
No one is living here without...
Saya no uta. Terus Potot mana? Potot masih menjelajahi Indonesia. Hah? Terus kenapa ponakannya dibawa juga? Tiga-tiganya loh. Tiga-tiganya dibawa Potot. Udah gitu bisa dari dulu ya, kayak udah bobo ini, kalau udah nggak jelas kan bentuknya, gue dorong ngamuk anjing ya, kayak kayak langsung nonjok ya, udah gitu. Ini juga nih udah tidurnya agak jelas ya di kamar gue kan sekarang, gue dorong kayak apa sih ya, lu anjing yang apa tuh, apa ya lu apa diambil apa dia ngamuk tak udah, padahal dulu minta di atas tuh, geser sana, geser tuh Lagi membaca literasi nih.
Of the house.
Lu salah pencet kan?
Hey guys, it's the How To Guy 123 here, and today I'm going to be showing you guys
To his friends much, so they don't really know what he's thinking. Dr. Tanbo Ryoko has this is later. It'll be awfully hard to explain his Koji to keep Fuminori intelligent. Never heard about fruits like these growing there, but well, of course, later it'll be awfully hard with his shoes on. More with medical research than flickering flame pushes back the deathly silence and gloom of the house. Koji is surprised to see evidence of life remaining. Everything from thickness of the dust suggests that the house has been empty for several months. Little more than clothes on his back. Calendar in the den is still turned to April. Empty and silent, yet still exhibiting signs of life that once lived there, the house reminds Koji of a passenger ship entombed at the bottom of the sea. In the graveyard-like quiet, a sinister thought suddenly enters his mind. No one is living here, but that does not mean that the owner left. Maybe he was murdered and his rotting corpse is right under Koji's feet. He finds himself wanting a stronger light. A flashlight in his hand would make him feel much better. Koji follows Fuminori's footsteps to the second floor, where he begins to catch the scent of paper and the stale air.
Korea. What is this even? Baik, 9 hari yang lalu. 3 weeks ago. Showbox present.
여기 전부 다 알 거야. 묘 하나 잘못 건들면 어떻게 되는지. 이런 데는 절대 사람이 누워있을 자리가 아니야.
딱 보니 윗바람입니다.
박지죽의 악질한 말이다.
Pengabdi setan.
관부배옥지액질 천불수호인신 연기가세 자해 육신급자 종불하생 위아도제 호기천
저게 사람감 맞아?
내서 뭐가 나왔다고 이 사람아!
뭐가 나왔다고 거기서. 겁나 험한 게.
Oke. Exhuma webtoon dah. Mana? Ini. Lumings. Mana ada? Exhuma ini apa nih terusan? Exhuma animation. Apaan coba? Ngadi-ngadi. Cukup. Ya nunggu lahir. Tangannya kangen potat anjing. Kapan sih minggat? Potat.
To his friends much, so they don't really know what he's thinking. Dr. Tanbo Ryoko, but the rush hour.
Better Call Saul. Shit. Dipanggil lah. Gua ada sejam.
Crowds is carved out of Fuji foothills. This looks like Phi from Zero Escape. Getting ready to take this flickering flame pushes.
Jangan. Udahan aja lah. Udah dulu lah 138 mana. Time for summer break. Lucu banget sih ini anjing. Lucu banget. Tuh. Ya. Aduh, jangan gitu. Lu udah gak berhak, lu gak ada berhak, Lemon gak berhak. Biarin sama ke gua aja, lu parah banget anjing, lu dasar kaku tertar. Lu udah bohongin itu ya, bohongin tuh krusial banget anjing, gak usah lah. Parah banget anjing, gak usah. Oh, sebelum bisa double. And look, that's me. Look at them go, they're fangirling hard. Aduh itu apa? Ya, ayo. Waduh, kan malah jadi haram. Haram. Iya juga ya. Pertama Leon suka sama si, aduh lakonnya siapa? Kagura suka sama si Sunao nih. Pertama dia suka Sunao. Terus gara-gara tapi kayak semua orang suka sama Sunao. Ini juga sebenarnya suka sama Lemon, tapi Lemon pasti di Sunao, tapi gara-gara Lemon jadi Sunao, jadi tapi ini suka gara-gara Kagura suka Sunao gara-gara acting like Lemon. Fuck man. Wow. Ini deduksinya sangat, dia kayak wah gue sebenarnya orang yang bisa lihat terus nih, gue lihat segala arah, gue bisa mengetahui, gue bisa mendapatkan konklusi paling cepat sedunia dan semua orang bakal terkaget-kaget karena gue paling tahu. Dasar kutu buku anjing itu tenco. What's this? Verbal.
Back the deathly silence and gloom of the house. The din is still turned to ape. The house reminds Koji of the yard-like, but that does not mean that the owner left. Himself wanting a stronger light. A flashlight in his hand would make him feel much better. Koji follows Fuminori's footsteps to the second floor, where he begins to catch the scent of paper and the stale air. It's a smell of old books, instantly recognizable to anyone who has worked in an antique bookstore or library. First room on the second floor turns out to be a study, its towering shelves packed with such a vast number of books that Koji feels for the stability of the floor. As a medical student himself, he is able to discern at a glance that the study belongs to a medical professional, and a high-level one at that. Judging by the content of the books, a smorgasbord of technical volumes far beyond the simple student's understanding, the owner's interests lie more with medical research than with clinical practice. Fuminori must have spent most of his time here. The scattered dust suggests he was searching for something, and the contents of the desk drawers are in obvious disarray. A small pile of books stacked on the side table catches his eye. Being next to the desks, they must have been the most frequently read. Their nature could shed light on the character of the person who worked here. Koji frowns as he examines the 3 books. These aren't scientific texts like the rest, but old leather-bound Western tomes like the sort you would find in a rare bookstore. Whatever they are, they clearly have nothing to do with medicine, refuting Koji's earlier guess that Ogai was a doctor. Looking down, Koji suddenly notices a glint of something black and metallic underneath the chair. A pocket-sized flashlight, quite out of place among all these dusty books. Fuminori must have brought it in. With relief, Koji exchanges his lighter for the flashlight. Its tiny body emits a powerful white beam that casts away the darkness. His courage restored, he decides to explore the rest of the house. Koji notices something strange, something that was not visible in the lighter's weak flame. The slime. It's just like in Goosebumps. Dark, oily stains are everywhere. The stains are especially thick around the doorknobs and stair banisters, like someone grasped them with hands wrapped in a greasy cloth. Looking closer, he sees places where the slime splash low on the walls, almost as if a mop was run violently across the floor. Could Ogai have made these marks? If so, how? Koji begins to feel sick as he imagines a man shambling through the house with slime dripping from his body. Listen, some people really gotta take a shower. Must have been a gamer. Finding the bedroom next to the study, Koji checks the closet on a hunch. He discovers 2 empty suitcases, not what one would leave behind when going on a long vacation. A sudden chill runs through him. Whoever was living here is still somewhere in the house. Not necessarily.
Not necessarily, yeah.
Suppressing the urge to flee, Koji goes back downstairs to check the first floor. If he finds a corpse, he'll have to call the police right away. He might get away with trespassing if he reports it first, but if they find the body later, it'll be awfully hard to explain his fingerprints all over the house. The flashlight reveals the den to be covered in even more slime than the rest of the house. The sofa looks as though it was dredged from the bottom of a swamp. In the kitchen, Koji takes one look at the sink and decides not to get any closer. He doesn't want any more fuel for his imagination. He reaches the door to the bathroom. A common scene from TV dramas flashes through his head. A body with slit wrists floating in a bathtub
saya
full
ini
of water.
homunculus dan slime ini dari badannya
There wasn't
saya.
a
Karena
movie where a
dulu kan
hitman
saya tinggal di
disposes
sini
of
kan.
his... Wasn't there a movie where a hitman disposes of his victim in a bathtub filled with lye? Opens the door slowly, then shines his light into the ceramic bathtub that appears from the darkness like a white ghost. Bones, a mountain of bones, black with dry flesh and blood. Koji puts his hand against the wall to steady himself as his legs threaten to buckle. Something is wrong, he realizes as he desperately tries to get his thoughts in order. The bones are too small and there are too many of them. They aren't human. After taking several deep breaths to calm himself, Koji enters the bathroom and examines the tub. The bones are piled atop each other like fallen leaves. They appear to be from small animals, perhaps cats or dogs. Even so, the quantity is mind-boggling. How many bodies would it take to produce this many bones?
Oh, itu makanannya
Bones have been
saya.
separated from one another, so it doesn't look like bodies were thrown in the bathtub and left to rot. Each bone is covered in deep grooves, marks left by teeth biting through flesh. Koji's sanity won't let him consider the possibility that a human could have done this. The owner of this house must have kept some sort of carnivorous animal as a pet, giving it the bones of small animals to eat and disposing of the remains in the bathtub. Why not dispose of the leftovers properly? They could have just been thrown out with the garbage. Was there something keeping him from leaving the house? The relief Koji felt when he realized that the bones weren't human is once again under attack. In the first place, what the hell was Fuminori doing here?
どうした、コウジ。
Oh, hi.
Kok tahu?
We were just,
Iya tadi gue liat kok dia balik
getting ready
lagi.
to take a bath? Koji whirls around, his light revealing Fuminori's expressionless
不法
face.
侵入だぞ、コウジ。
お前だって同じだろうが。
Fuminori pushes past Koji and looks into the bathtub. He doesn't even flinch at the sight of the
僕は
bones.
この家の人と知り合いなんだ。頼まれて探し物をしに来ただけさ。
知り合いっていつから一体何者なんだ。
Koji doesn't want to believe that the old friendly Fuminori could have had a contact with the denizens of this house.
いずれお前にも紹介するよ。僕の恩人とも言える人だから。
おい、文則。
Koji runs after Fuminori, his heart is finally beating normally
お
again.
前まさか近頃様子がおかしいのはその知り合いっていうやつのせいなんじゃ。
Standing in the entrance, Fuminori glares coldly at Koji over his shoulder. The utter lack of
Good
emotion in
writing,
his
bro.
eyes
Oh my
give
God.
Koji pause.
僕の後をつけてきたんだね。
Koji swallows. What can he say?
そういうのは迷惑だ。二度とやらないでもらいたい。
Fuminori itu bukan pembunuh. Dia bukan pembunuh. Dia
Fuminori
nggak
walks
tahu.
away without another
Dia nggak
word,
tahu.
leaving Koji alone in the entrance. Up until this very moment, concern for his friend was still up at the forefront of his mind. Now, however, that concern is swiftly giving way to a growing sense of dread. Does the Fuminori he knew no longer exist? Was the person who stared Koji down an imposter wearing Fuminori's skin? Hmm. This is like, I don't know if you guys ever experienced this, but if you've ever had a lucid dream, which is a dream where you know that you're dreaming and you have a great degree of control over it, I've had a few of those, and in all of them, the humans were fucking terrifying, because for some reason I couldn't control them, and they're, like, dream people. They don't act like normal people. They're completely unpredictable in their actions, which is, oof, some of the scariest stuff. Koji had begun to believe that it might be so. What a nuisance. Why does he insist on interfering? He only spoke to me to exchange pleasantries, even I could bear it. But now he's sticking his nose into my business just to satisfy his curiosity. Koji is a perfect example of someone who thinks it's always good to take interest in other people's affairs. Probably thinks he's doing me a favor by prying into my life.
She didn't know.
He couldn't be more wrong.
She need this.
If he keeps this up, I might have to find some way to deal with him. Like Saya said, I have to keep my search for Dr. Ogai a secret. Koji could ruin everything. That's right, wasn't Ogai, Saya's father? Sorry, like I said, it's been a week since I played last, so I didn't remember the name. I didn't have time to fully investigate the Ogai residence today. At this rate, it'll probably take several days just to go through the study. Saya didn't believe that I'd find anything to help with the search. But I think there's still a lot to explore. Who knows what I'll discover. The problem is Koji. He knows about the house now. Will he make things difficult? Suppressing a shudder, I put on a fake smile and turned to face the writhing mass of rotten flesh that is staring at me with bulging eyes. Of course, this is my next-door neighbor Suzumi. A middle-aged painter, I think, who spends all day at home with while his wife works. I hadn't had much contact with him since the accident. Why is he suddenly talking to me now?
It's like... Oh yeah, it's like a similar thing.
What is this? Did he just stop
I
me to
find
deliver
like
a lecture?
You know this anime, what's it called? Odd Taxi. You know Odd Taxi, like rather than flashes, he sees animals as people. That's why he can.
The flesh beast undulates foully, as though it still has something to say. The sight of it is driving me close to the edge.
Yeah, like Odd Taxi. Rather than flash beast, they see. I mean, he saw like animals, like.
Now I get it. He's worried the unsightliness of my house might diminish the image of his own. Damn snob. Why won't everyone stay out of my life? I just want to live together with Saya, alone where no one will ever bother us. Suzumi Yosuke sighs in annoyance as he watches the neighbor boy retreat into his house. What's with his attitude? Even while talking, he keeps his eyes averted as if to avoid looking at something repulsive. Yeah. Has he always been such an unpleasant young man? No, of course not. When his parents were still alive, he had been a normal youth, a little shy but sensitive and caring. It must be the stress of his sad situation. If it continues to build, he might start to develop serious mental problems.
It's already serious,
you
bro.
Think? Or is it too late already?
Too late.
Yosuke wonders as he gazes warily at the Sakisaka yard. Even during dinner, Yosuke can't shake the neighboring house from his mind.
Oh, bapak nih istrinya cakep. Tapi pelukis, oh. Ya sih, mungkin pelukis emang pelukis sepuh ya. Pelukis sepuh sangar. Kaya tinggal di rumah.
The stink from the Sakisaka house grows worse each day, and the Suzumi family is at its wit's end.
That's true, that's right. You got that right, girl. Storm shutters close. What kind of fly? Yep.
そういう言い方はダメよ。
いや、あれは本当にちょっとどうすぎてる。
大丈夫な。
早く自覚して医者にでも行ってもらわんことには、なんともな。
The seconds crawl by, each tick of the clock compounding my agony. When I returned from the Ogai residence, I was greeted by a silent, empty home. Saya had vanished without leaving any clue as to her whereabouts. It isn't rare for her to go for walks at night. I've often gone with her. However, such outings always take place in the middle of the night when no one is around and never last for more than 2 hours. Right now it's 5 in the morning. Soon the sky will begin to show the first light of dawn. Even if she left right before I returned, she's been gone for almost half a day. I can't sleep. I can only wait in anguish. I tried to distract myself by painting more rooms, but I couldn't concentrate on the work. If I had known this would happen, I would have left the Ogai house sooner. I wish I hadn't wasted time on Koji. If Saya doesn't return, the thought makes me want to tear out my hair. After its long absence, the terror of true loneliness was too much to bear. As I jump out of my bed in relief, all the stress that is built up throughout the night is relieved in a wave that threatens to sweep me off my feet.
疲れた。やっぱり往復すると遠いな。
さや、一体どこに？
My question trails off as I notice the thick bundles of paper she's carrying under her arms.
それは？
文則のカルテとか手術の記録。今日は古巣の病院に行ってきたの。
What do you mean to take it?
Saya drops her bundles on the floor, sending paper flying everywhere, then pulls her favorite cushion over and collapses into it, stretching luxuriously.
What do you mean?
こんな夜中に T 台から歩いて戻ってきたのか。
ごめんね。本当はもっと早く帰れると思ってたんだけど、調べ出したらキリがなくて、結局全部持ち出してきちゃった。ああ、重かった。
Maybe it's just the exhaustion, but I'm not understanding a word Saya's saying.
だから、そんなもの持ってきてどうするつもりなんだ？
どうするって、もちろん調べるのよ。うちで時間かけてじっくり。あら、何やってんだか。あ、これは要チェックかな。あとは、そうなんだ。
You gonna keep going?
なんだ。
君、わかるのか？
パパにいろいろと教わったから。
Which just have kept going on forever in a loop if I didn't end that.
なるほどね。そういうこと。これじゃあいつまで経っても直せないよね。
直せないのか？
人間のお医者さんじゃね。
Can't tell if she's being
私でも
serious.
まだちょっと難しいかな。いろいろと試してからでないと。
Watching more closely, I realized that her eyes are scanning each page rapidly. So rapidly, in fact, that I was unable to notice it at first. Could Saya actually be reading my charts?
なあ、さや。今日はもう疲れたし、寝ないか？
What do you mean?
文則がそうしたいならそうする。
Oh boy. I'm gonna get another H scene. Saya tosses aside papers she was sorting, then leaps on me and begins.
Alright,
Yeah,
just
okay.
I wanna look at a bit.
I might have to skip this one too.
Don't skip, don't skip.
寝る前に一回だけ。
Monster.
We'll see.
I guess Monster gets.
It's either gonna be skipped or censored.
Pens up too.
Contrary to her appearance, Saya's appetite for sex would put any adult to shame.
I guess Monster
Could even
do
say
have
it's a little
pent
unnatural.
up sexual frustration.
She's not just
Frustration, yeah.
passionate. She also has unlimited stamina, making me wonder where her slender body gets all the energy. Never satisfied with letting me feast on her to my heart's content, she always uses me to pleasure herself until I'm forced to tap
like,
out.
If
Hey, so what's the implications? What's the implications of the H scenes if she's a giant flesh monster? That's what I really want to know.
文則、どこか具合が悪いの？
いや、僕は別に。
Yeah, you
ちゃん
think?
と大人の体になってるし、
ないよ。
平気なんだけど。
You think, dude?
平気だよ。
Okay, so that's
Oh, jadi saya yang
it's
nganuin.
confirmation that she is indeed underage, which is a little bit
Kasian.
disturbing. That okay,
Berarti
see, I understand.
Fuminori a
Arguments.
victim, bro.
I know there are gonna be the arguments that, well, this is meant to show just how depraved of human affection Fuminori is, and to an extent,
He's the
you have a
victim, man.
point. But then when they just have full-on H scenes that are clearly meant to get you horny over this little girl, that's where it kind of draws the line for me.
Yep.
You can portray these things without trying to get your audience horny, you know? She laughs playfully as she pushes me onto the bed, the familiar sweet sensation of her weight and skin rendering me helpless.
Because she's a monster.
Oh. To my astonishment, Saya is completely uninterested in safe sex. She doesn't eschew protection. She doesn't just eschew protection. She even insists that... Okay. Surely she knows the risk, which can only mean she wants to get pregnant. How can I respond to that? Saya seems unsure how to reply, but not because she doesn't understand what I said. Rather, the bemused look on her face makes it seem as though I'm the one not getting it.
The fuck, man?
By the time I break the spell of her angelic smile, Saya has undone my belt and is removing
You're a
my
victim,
pants.
bro. I mean, I wouldn't mind, but wait. By when I said I wouldn't mind getting fucked by a monster, you know, like for real now, if they're legal. But it's all about psychological issue, right? This one, we don't know for the exact age for each of this character. I mean, Saya to be precise, because she is smart like an adult but innocent, you know. She bears my cross and wear her slender feet with mirror. Yo, the writing, bro. Are you real? Isn't this like just?
Yep.
Wait, let me read.
Yep.
The feeling of really embracing me and it feels. Okay, that's
okay. So
cool.
There was another H scene that I have skipped. Hopefully, if it wasn't skipped, then I'm going to have to take the video down and edit it. I don't know. Maybe I'll forget, but nonetheless, there wasn't much again that you could really get out of that. Other than that, Saya is okay with having a child with Fuminori, and apparently has no problems with.
Okay, I've been watching for 2 hours worth of gameplay. That's good, right? Must make more cute girls. What's that? Is that Show my daily subs? Where's the Somai? There's nothing here. Can I see? I just want to see that part. There's nothing there.
To his friends much, so they don't really know what he's thinking. Dr. Tan.
Which part is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Where is it? The part she show her foot. Where? Which part is that? Let me see again.
To his friends much, so they don't really know what he's thinking. Dr. Tanbo.
That part. Okay, never mind, bro.
To his friends.
I'm done, yeah. For the done. We're done.